Material culture has been an integral part of the human experience throughout history. We live our lives surrounded by such things, particularly in a city like Philly, with so much historic art and architecture, and we often take for granted how we perceive these things. In reality, there is no single perspective through which art and history can be understood. Both art and heritage are often manipulated by state and non-state actors to craft narratives that delineate cultural boundaries, othering minorities and opposing groups to achieve their goals. By examining such instances of narrative construction, we're able to understand the role of art and heritage in crafting identity and assigning power. The three cases I will examine are Nazi art policy, the site of Pravahir in Thailand and Cambodia, and the destruction of the Bamyan Buddhas. Nazi art policy evolved out of an existing philosophy of degeneracy, drawing on theorists like Max Nordau and Paul Schultz-Naumburg, who critiqued modernism and modern art as symptomatic of societal degeneracy. They linked art that they saw as moral lunacy with a rhetoric of disease and decay, as pictured here in Paul Schultz-Naumburg's book, comparing images from modern art with patients with physical deformities. Hitler used this narrative to begin a campaign of dehumanization against those he wished to scapegoat, the pinnacle of which was the Degenerate Art Show in 1937. The Degenerate Art Show was comprised of works of art that had been confiscated from museums around Germany that were not felt to fit the true German ideal. They were displayed haphazardly, interwoven with Nazi slogans, derogatory quotes mocking the art and the artist, quotes from Hitler himself, all intended as a very didactic experience to visitors, leaving them with little doubt as to what they were to think of the art that they were seeing. By describing the artists in the Degenerate Art exhibition with such a violent rhetoric, Hitler was able to undermine their ability to connect with German people and frame them not as individuals worthy of respect or compassion, but rather as a blight on society that needed to be condemned and eradicated. The role of heritage between Thailand and Cambodia over the site of Pravahir is not as the actions of a single dictatorial regime, but rather multiple actors seeking to co-opt heritage in their own narrative construction. The site of Pravahir is situated in the Dangrek mountain range between Thailand and Cambodia, in a region that has had a long history of conflict. In 1907, French colonial influence came in and made Cambodia a protectorate and drew up a border that they essentially forced the Siamese people, now the nation of Thailand, to sign. And since then, both nations have felt a sense of ownership over this site. On the part of Thailand, the site has become key in their rhetoric of reclaiming territory that was lost in the demarcation of the border. Sparked into action by Cambodia's proposal of the site to the UNESCO World Heritage List in 2007, groups like the People's Alliance for Democracy, a Thai nationalist group, raised significant backlash against the action, particularly seeing that the Thai government had actually signed off on the proposal. They framed this support of Cambodia as a betrayal of the Thai people, inflaming the rhetoric and mobilizing at the site to incite military action. They successfully inflamed the rhetoric to the point that they were able to call for a vote of no confidence in the prime minister and to force the foreign minister to resign, framed as a traitor to the Thai people. In Cambodia, Prime Minister Hun Sen similarly capitalized on the site as a symbol, but rather than for destabilization, he used it to consolidate his power. The perceived aggression of Thailand as the yellow shirts mobilized at the site allowed Hun Sen and his regime to build up anti-Thai sentiments within Cambodia and to frame their actions as an unjustified attack on Cambodian identity. They linked imagery of Pravahir with imagery of Angkor Wat, pictured here on the Cambodian flag, a site of huge significance, which lent Pravahir similar importance through the connection. Hun Sen and his allies framed the Thai as other and as a dangerous threat to the Cambodian people, and Pravahir came to perfectly encapsulate this cultural demarcation, both as a representation of Thai violence and of Cambodian nationalism. The Bamyan Buddhas were destroyed by the Taliban in 2001, a highly visible act of destruction that was effectively orchestrated to drive home their ideological goals on a number of levels. Within the borders of Afghanistan, it served to demonstrate who they felt should be a part of the state they were trying to construct. In addition to Buddhists, the statues were very important to the Hazaras, an ethnic community in the Bamyan Valley. Their long history in the valley meant that the Hazara people had a great love for the statues, and that the statues had a significant role in their folklore, and thus the destruction of the statues demonstrated their lack of worth in the eyes of the Taliban. The Hazaras practiced the Shia school of Islam, which was seen as heretical, and thus they were not worthy of respect or consideration. In addition to domestically, this action also served to drive home the discrepancy between the domestic community and the international community, as offers of aid from organizations like UNESCO were framed as callous in the face of the suffering of the Afghan people. And this narrative of alienation from the West goes both ways. Pictured here are two maps, one of UNESCO's all sites inscribed on the World Heritage List, and the other of all sites on the World Heritage List in danger. The Middle East as a region is home to just 7% of sites on the World Heritage List, but is home to 38% of sites on the list in danger. This discrepancy demonstrates the way that the international heritage community essentializes the discussion of heritage within the Middle East, portraying it as a region that is unable and unwilling to protect their own patrimony and in need of Western expertise to come in and preserve it. The diversity of human experience is such that heritage cannot be all things to all people. It's constantly being framed and reframed, written into narratives of victory and defeat, and this is natural. As humans, we seek out patterns and create stories that aid in our understanding of the world. However, as these narratives are constructed, it's inevitable that certain perspectives are prioritized over others, and it's important that we consider whose voices are being silenced. In reality, it isn't that these objects and these places have inherent value, but these narratives that are built that give those places value, and that value is what is used as a weapon of othering against minorities and others. It is important for us to consider the narratives that shape our own experiences with heritage and our interactions with art. We must examine how our perceptions are reinforcing cultural boundaries and how we are contributing to the formation of identity and power. Thank you.